what I will tell you is that we do share a common mindset, which is resilience and the ability to distinguish. In fact, your last guest, Hunter, I was starting to talk about this very nicely. I thought that it's the ability to distinguish between good pain and actual harm.
Hi, Scott. How are you?
Hello, how are you, Kate?
I'm very well. How about you?
Oh, it's so wonderful to meet you here on this chat. And it looks like you have a marathon day ahead of you, but a marathon's nothing for you. I mean, this is not even an ultra, right? So.
No, it's a very good immersion into what's expected from me in the future.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So thank you so much for joining me here on the Strong Summit. You are quite an anomaly, and I think if I was to look up the word in an amazing way, and if I was to look up high achiever in the dictionary, I think there'd just be a picture of you, because what you've accomplished and to the levels you've done is truly inspirational.
Oh, well, thank you for the kind words. No, I guess we share a lot of common traits probably, but drive is one of them, and probably. For me, I don't like to watch TV. I like to be a doer rather than a watcher. So being engaged in life is the way I like to approach it. So keep moving. That's the way to get things done, right?
Yeah, definitely. So could you share me a little bit of your backstory in what you have accomplished? And I can see an amazing dashboard behind you as well. So what's all that about?
Yeah, you have to have a little fun with Zoom, I think. So behind me is a virtual forward cockpit of the Space Shuttle Endeavour, which I've had a chance to fly a couple of times in my career. And I wish I was up in space right now with my colleagues who just launched aboard the SpaceX Dragon. I don't know if you saw the beautiful launch and the docking this past weekend, but so exciting to have this new opportunity, this new method to get to space since retirement of the space shuttle. So it's an exciting time in the space program. Obviously the world is hurting right now, with the pandemic and the civil injustice and other things, and we need to all heal. But when I look at that accomplishment, it kind of invigorates the spirit that we as humans can do great things if we work together. So. But my background you asked about, so let me get to your question before I pontificate. So I'm a physician by training, and prior to that I had very adventurous parents, and I lived overseas as a kid. So I lived in West Africa, the Middle East, and in Europe. So that kind of instilled in me this sense of curiosity and adventure, and it's kind of in my DNA as well. They had a wanderlust. I was able to see a lot of the world as a kid and wanted to do more. And so I became an explorer of the physical world. So wanted to become an astronaut as well. And of course, that's kind of a faraway goal and kind of long odds. So I pursued medicine as a profession. And thankfully, NASA needed physicians to do science in space, but also to kind of prepare for longer duration missions up to the ISS and hopefully one day to go to Mars. And so I was very fortunate to fly on 5 space shuttle missions, and I conducted a bunch of spacewalks. So some of them were pretty epic. Did a lot of medical research, including with my boyhood hero, actually, Senator John Glenn, who came back to fly at age 77. He was our very first American astronaut to orbit the Earth during the Mercury program back in the early 60s. And he came back decades later to fly aboard the space shuttle. And I was there to help monitor his experiments, but also to take care of the senator. And thankfully, knock wood, he was in great shape and did a fantastic job. But that, in a nutshell, is kind of my space career. But I've had the opportunity as an explorer to go to some wonderful places, including a place that I know that you strongly desire going, and I have no doubt you'll be able to achieve the summit. But I've had a couple of seasons on Everest, one trip to the top. One trip was not so much fun. I ended up rupturing a disc in my lumbar spine at Camp 3 and had to limp on down. But after surgery, I was able to return to the mountain the following year and successfully make it there. And it's an extraordinary place, and I know you're going to love it. But I've also been deep beneath our oceans and inside an active volcano, adjacent to a lava lake. So I've done some, kind of wild things, but all in the name of science and innovation. They weren't, hollow kinds of joy rides, but the goal was to actually perform science and to learn and to drive innovation. And so at my core, I'm an inventor and someone who likes to press the boundaries of what's possible. And so currently I'm CEO of a company called Fluidity Technologies, and we develop hand controllers for anything that moves through three-dimensional space. So whether it's a drone, a VR environment, or even one day a surgical robot. So that's kind of what keeps me excited about today and also looking into the future.
Yeah, it's very exciting, and what I really acknowledge is your spectrum of accomplishments, and also testing on a personal level how human performance is achieved from the deepest of the ocean to actually above our stratosphere as well.
Yeah, I think whenever we as humans challenge ourselves to go into challenging environments, we have to invent new technologies, not only to extract important science from those environments, but we need to engineer solutions to make it safe for us to go there. And whenever we do that, we develop new technologies that benefit us here on Earth. New technologies for healthcare, for protecting firefighters in our military, to grow plants more efficiently. I mean, every facet of our economy and our lives is benefited from work that we do in space or other extreme environments. So, even though it's challenging and it costs a fair amount of money to go into space, our societies benefit greatly from taking on those challenges, for sure.
Yeah, right. I strongly believe when we push our boundaries on those levels, we'll always see the benefit back at home.
Right.
Yeah, but to bring it back to my competition briefly, because I am the world's first female to ever attempt these 3 events in one, and something I would love your input on is how to mentally prepare ourselves when putting these 3 epic feats together in quite extreme conditions as well, because I'm going from cycling America to swimming quite cold waters in Britain and France to then summiting Everest. So what mental preparation have you done that I could hopefully learn from as well?
Well, it's hard for me to say that I can teach someone as accomplished as you anything in that sphere, because you've already accomplished so much. I mean, the mental wherewithal that it takes to do an Ironman, to do some of these extreme events that you've already done. It's I would be overstating my ability to coach someone like you. But what I will tell you is that we do share a common mindset, which is resilience and the ability to distinguish. In fact, your last guest, Hunter, I was starting to talk about this very nicely. I thought that it's the ability to distinguish between good pain and actual harm. And so, as an elite athlete, and at one point in my life, I consider myself an elite athlete too. But you could kind of know where you can work up to red line, and you can stay at red line for a fairly long period of time. But there's a point, like when I ruptured my lumbar spine, some people would actually continue on. The goal ahead of me is so important. I'm going to press my body, even though I know something is seriously wrong with myself. I was able to make that decision that it was time for me to descend, and I think you will as well. Should that happen, if you get beyond red line, you have to know your body inside and out, and also just kind of, I guess the way I would guide you in this process. I'm not a long distance swimmer. I love biking, but I can't imagine doing the English Channel, quite honestly. That's such an epic challenge. greatly respect you for taking that on. But for Everest, you have to consider it not as 2 vertical miles above base camp, or 7 or 8 weeks of a expedition. It's 1 day at a time, and sometimes it's 1 rope length at a time, or even 1 footstep at a time on summit day. So you have to set micro goals along the way, and celebrate the successes along that path. And what I always hearken to, I don't know if you were ever in the scouting program as a kid, but I did the Boy Scouts in the United States, and there's the Eagle Scout Award, which is the highest rank. And a lot of kids would get discouraged because it's so far off. It's like, well, I can't, it's the swimming across the English Channel. That's, what is it? 21 miles or something crazy like that. So you have to say, well, I'm going to swim, the next 100 meters or the next half mile or whatever it is, and kind of build upon each success. And that repeatedly has worked for me when I've set lofty challenges for myself. If you kind of focus on, I've got to get to Dover or whichever direction you're going, it would just be so overwhelming. But if you kind of celebrate each milestone along those paths that you're taking, you can get there mentally.
Yeah, very true. Because it's a common thread I've had with a lot of people today is if we look at the whole picture, it could be perceived as quite overwhelming. But if we just focus on the micro tasks at hand and turn up and do our best there, we'll get there at the end. Right,
absolutely.
Yeah, and coming back to your, well, I'm going to mention it as a failed attempt, but failure is subjective. When you didn't summit and you chose to stop because of that rupture, how did you deal with knowing that was not going to happen this year, you not summiting?
It was initially devastating. I was sitting there at Camp 3, which is about 7,000 meters or 24,000 feet and change. This is where we start to use supplemental oxygen, and I could see the South Summit over my shoulder, just 24 hours away. And I had worked so hard to get there. I'd spent so much money, and it was the summit of my dreams. And I realized that if I went any higher, I would potentially risk my own life, and I would be jeopardizing the summit success of my teammates who would have wanted to try and help me, maybe even putting them in harm's way. And so I used the same kind of mindset that I'd used as an astronaut, actually, to really focus on what's most important. And you have to put team before self in every facet of our lives. And I realized that my team was more important, and first and foremost, my family was more important, and I was not going to not make this a round trip. And so you need to remember that as well. But there's the allure of the summit, but it doesn't really count unless you make it a round trip. So as Ed Viesters often says, unfortunately there are about 300 souls that are permanently on the mountain, and we don't want you to become one of those. So it was very, very gut-wrenching to have to turn my back on the mountain, but I realized that there are more important things than 30 minutes on top of the world. And thankfully, I made the right decision. I healed, and I was able to come back the next year.
Yeah, definitely.
The summit will always be there.
Yeah, and it's important that we remember we want to be there as well. So yeah.
That's right. That's right.
So how do you deal with not being able to accomplish those goals? Is there anywhere else you've seen in your life where maybe the word of patience is about putting it to the gods, or letting fate or chance have a little bit of say? You've done your best today, but at the end of it, whether you summit or not, it may not actually be your choice.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's important to have lofty goals and have the tenacity to work for them, but sometimes a goal may not be within your reach. But I'm a glass is 3/4 full kind of a person, so I try and find the silver linings even in failure when I can. And one experience in my life, I like you when I was younger, was very athletic. I guess I still am, but I don't compete in anything anymore. But I ran track, and then I was recruited for the sport called luge, Winter Olympic sport. And I was crazy, high velocity, fun sport. And I was recruited to try it in Lake Placid, New York, and spent about 3 seasons training and getting better and better. Actually went through the US Olympic trials and did very well, the best I'd ever done in my life, but I didn't make the Olympic team. And so I knew that I needed to kind of get on with my life. I needed to finish medical school and start my career. So I knew another Olympic cycle was not going to happen. And so I could have just left dejected and, disheartened by not achieving that goal. But I had an opportunity. I was invited by a friend who was going to represent his home country, the Philippines, a fellow by the name of Ray Ocampo, which is, the Philippines, of course, is a Winter Olympic powerhouse, as I'm sure you're aware. But anyway, I got a chance to go to the 1988 Winter Olympic Games in Calgary. It was the Winter Olympics with Eddie the Eagle, who I'm sure you know all about, and one of your countrymen. And it was an extraordinary event. I was the Ray's coach and the chef de mission of the Philippine delegation. Got a chance to march in opening ceremonies behind another country's flag to support my friend Ray. So I had the Olympic experience. It wasn't the one that I dreamed of as a kid, but that was this crazy silver lining. When you take on big challenges, even though you may not achieve the lofty goal that you've set out at the beginning, other doors are going to open up for you. Who knows what they'll be, but they could be pretty wonderful.
Yeah, well, I completely agree. It's about keeping the goal in stone, but the journey in sand, because we never
right.
have. Yeah.
Well said.
I've been reading a little bit your book, which is just here, The Sky.
Ah, thank you.
And it talks a lot about this, but it's hugely, I'm always impressed with whenever you've taken something on, you've always played it to the top. It's without ego almost. It's as if just similar to my ethos, which is how far can I go with this? Mm-hmm. And you have accomplished so much as well to the height that you have. Luge just being one example of almost making it to the American team for Olympics. Is there any way that could be unpacked for other people to take that life without a glass ceiling lifestyle on?
Well, I think what I tell young people in particular when I speak to large groups of students is it's really important whenever you take something on to do it the very best that you can. If you're not passionate about something, find something else that you are passionate about. Don't do it halfway. And secondarily, to surround yourself with people who are going to lift you up rather than push you down. If you have naysayers around you, well, listen to them. You don't want to go into a dangerous situation, something that would be foolish. But if people are consistently negative around you, find some other people to hang out with. I think that's really important. But passion and your core support group are so important to ultimate success.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, wonderful. Well, Scott, it's hard to imagine that we're almost coming to half an hour already because...
Wow, okay. The time has flown.
Yeah. If it's okay with you, I'd love to finish on 5 last questions.
Sure.
To get your insight into some of these thoughts I'm floating around with. Mm-hmm. And the first one is, what is the one skill you think leaders today need?
Great question. Well, I think as a core competency, leaders need to have compassion. And pursuant to that, I think the skill set is the ability to truly listen. And it's a hard thing to do. We're all under a great deal of pressure and time constraint, but to try and listen to your team as deeply as you can, and compassion sings through that. So I think that's something that's sorely missing on this side of the ocean right now.
I don't think it's just this side, unfortunately.
Probably right.
And out of curiosity, what do you follow more? Is it logic or intuition?
I wish I I was a more quantitative person, but I'm a very intuitive person. I'm a creative, and I understand things from an intuitive perspective quite quickly. And so I tend more towards the intuitive. And so understanding that as a weakness that I have as a leader, I try and surround myself with analytical people. So my co-founder of my company is the exact opposite of me. He's down to the nth degree of modeling and analytics, and it's a great balance because you can get a long way with intuition, but you need to be checked with analytics as well.
Yeah, yeah. I find myself similar. I mean, I was a trained engineer, so I was erring, but I think I've gone a little bit too far to the intuitive and need my feet pulled down to the ground a little bit now and then.
Found it, yeah. Right.
Yeah. And how, I mean, we talked on this bit before, but how do you deal with perceived failure or not achieving goals?
Yeah, so I think I deal with failure through perseverance. And so I don't consider my 2008 summit attempt on Everest as a failure. In fact, I consider it one of my life's greatest successes, which is maybe just kind of my glass is 3/4 full sort of a mindset. But the fact that I had the wherewithal to say, hey, it isn't meant to be. I need to get home. I need to heal. I need to get back to my family and friends. And maybe I'll come back another day. So tenacity, perseverance is the way that I soldier through what might be perceived as failure. And I've found, as I mentioned, some silver linings along the way. When I don't get the long-term goal, maybe other doors will open up along that pathway.
Yeah, and maybe with that example, it's not that the glass is 3/4 full, it's refillable.
That's right, yeah, that's a good description, yeah.
Yeah, and what keeps you motivated every single day?
Well, gosh, I feel so fortunate to have had the gift of spaceflight that I've had, the gift of a wonderful supportive family and friends, the ability to see the world as I have, from an early age up into the current day. And so what motivates me is I feel like I really owe it to pay it forward. I feel like I need to earn the oxygen that I breathe. And so I try and work on things that have meaning, not just to me, personally for financial gain, but I wouldn't want to invent a pet rock or a chia pet, something that has zero societal benefit. So I like to work on things that improve the quality of life for people. And use the skill sets that I have as best that I can. So that's kind of what keeps me ticking.
Yeah, and just to say again, but thank you so much for committing your time today to pay it forward to not just my adventure, but also the people who are listening today. So I really...
you're very welcome. I'm so excited to watch your adventure and cheer you on. This is going to be amazing.
Thank you, thank you. And yeah, it's interesting because I'm announcing it 2 years before I'm actually attempting it. So I'm doing my best to keep it real, to show people that there's pain, suffering, tears, and there's probably blood somewhere. Not too much, but yeah, to express that the process is one step at a time. I don't just want the show and tell at the end. Right.
Yeah, well, it's all about the journey, and you're taking it seriously. This isn't something that, the race across America is incredibly difficult in its own right, and then you're doing two other things that mere mortals, don't typically think about either. So,
thank you. And finally, to everyone listening, what one message would you like to leave us with?
Oh gosh. Well, I'm weighted down by the pandemic and what's happening in our country in the aftermath of George Floyd's murder, and the economy, and we have these three weighty challenges upon us right now. But I believe in the human spirit. I believe that we will come together eventually. It's very divided right now, but I believe that we have in our future, leaders who will bring us together and will allow not just our country but our planet to heal. And so I believe that there will be a vaccine, hopefully in the next 6 to 12 months, that will start to allow us to really regain our former lives. We'll be able to recover our jobs and economy and heal some of the racial divides that we have. So I'm very excited that can and will happen. And I'm also positive about the value of technology in our futures to make our lives better, to help each other out. So again, that glass being 3/4 full or refillable, I think we need to keep a positive attitude.
Yeah, definitely. And something that spurred me on from last weekend's murders is I reached out to Sarah, which is the first Black African female to summit Everest. Mm-hmm. She's coming on at the end of the summit. And we're going to talk about the unconscious biases that we all run every single day, not just race, but on every single level of society, and how we can all play an active part with positivity in making a conscious and positive change for the universe.
Wonderful. That'll be fantastic. I'll try and tune in for that as well.
Yeah, it's I'm trying to work it out now. It's in 1 hour's time. Yes.
Okay. Great.
Yeah, that'd be wonderful. But yeah, so Scott, thank you so much for your time. I can't express my gratitude for you dialing in all the way from NASA. What is your website and contact details for people who want to get in touch?
Yeah, thank you, Kate. Well, first off, go Team Kate. We're going to be pulling for you. So my website is parazynski.com, Parazynski, and then you can also follow me on Instagram and Twitter, AstroDocScott. And please check out my book, The Sky Below. Hope you get a chance to check that out.
Yeah, it's already set to prove a great read, so I'm looking forward to completing that.
Thank you so much. Good luck to you.
Thank you so much, Scott. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.